7 things I had to stop doing once I became Christian. The first thing I had to stop doing, because I was literally getting convicted, is listening to carnal music. Before, y'all, I was listening to very bad songs because they were viral on TikTok or because my friends were listening to them, and I wasn't really registering the lyrics. I was 13 years old. This is my middle school era. I was just surrounded by a bunch of different people, and like every time we would get on the bus, someone would have a speaker and they would just blast all these songs, right? I would never know these songs. So what I would do is I would go home and I would literally look up the song and I would sit there for like 30 minutes learning the lyrics so I could look cool. And it just never registered to me that I was speaking these lyrics over me. It never registered to me that these lyrics are bad. I was just like, okay, like they're cool, like I'm gonna look cool singing them. I was listening to songs that just didn't even align to who I am as a person. So when I became Christian for real, and I was like, I'm walking with God now, I was like, this has to stop. If you're listening to music about violence, obviously, like after you're done with that song, you're gonna be violent. You're gonna be like, okay, I'm ready to beat somebody up. Like I would listen to these hype songs, right? And I'm like, okay, who wants to fight? Who wants to fight? Girl, relax, you're not a fighter. I never was a fighter. I was always a lover. But you know, these songs would hype me up. I would listen to like depressing songs, and I would just, you know, be dramatic in my room, crying, listen to these songs. As soon as the song would come off, and I'm not sad no more. So I definitely had to give up these songs because they would deeply affect my mood. It would affect everything, and it was a very hard change, I'm not gonna lie. What helped me at first was I would just listen to the instrumental of the people I used to listen to. The second thing I had to give up was watching certain TV shows. So I was very obsessed with this show called Criminal Minds. For those who don't know what it is, it's basically a FBI show that shows like a FBI team solving murder cases. And so, for example, there were like high-level murder cases, so they would show serial killers torturing people in this show, and the FBI team had to build a case and try to find this guy in time, or this person dies and all this. So I was watching this like every week, every morning, every night, all this. And because of this show, I was very, very paranoid, and I was very anxious all the time. And I started becoming very scared at being home alone. Like everything you think of, I was very scared to leave the house. I was scared to be alone in the house, because this show, when I tell you, is very realistic, it's very deep, girl, it is. And so I had to let that show go, because literally I had to take breaks watching this show because it impacted me so much. And even like my mom was like, how can you watch this show? And I'm like, I don't know, I just love it. It was quite literally ruining my mental health, because I was just so scared and paranoid all the time that what was happening in the show was gonna happen to me. And so I finally let it go for good. Mind you guys, I was like 6 seasons in, so it took me a very long time to give up the show, because I would always hear people talk about it, and I just always wanted to be able to give my point of view and my thoughts and my 2 cents on the show and how much I loved it. I had to let it go, y'all, because everything about the show, again, is promoting darkness, and God is light, and those two don't mix. It was just also so bad for me spiritually, mentally, everything. Another show I had to give up was Vampire Diaries. I watched it when I was like 15 years old. I absolutely loved it. My friends at the time were watching it. I was obsessed with it. And then again, I tried to rewatch it again. And I was like 17, and I was like, why the heck did y'all, this show, first of all, when I watched it the first time, I would have to mute it, because in the show there's witches and they're like saying these chants. And there's this one interview with them where they said that they actually had real spells on the show. And so I heard that. I didn't take this as a red flag. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna mute it when they start saying spells. So I was like, girl, what the heck am I? Girl, you're inviting so many different things, because you don't know what you don't know none of that. So this show had witches, vampires, everything that is not for God. I don't know what I was thinking, y'all. Please forgive me. Don't forget. God, forgive me. I just felt so convicted trying to watch it again. I was like, no, I can't do that. The third thing I had to give up was holding grudges. Your girl could hold a grudge like no other. And not only that, y'all, I used to want to seek revenge. that, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So as a kid, like, I was known for this. Even my mom, like, she was like, my mom was like, you really have to stop. Like, for example, if me and my mom got in an argument, I would hold that grudge. I would not speak to her, nothing. I would just be silent. And then I would go into her room, y'all, and I would hide her things. So her lotions, her perfumes, I would hide it into different places. And then she would have to be like, where's my perfume? Where's this? And I would just not tell her because I wanted revenge. And I would do the same thing to my brother. Like, I would take his stuff and I would hide it. I would do this. Like, I was so keen on seeking my own revenge and holding grudges when somebody hurt my feelings. I was, yeah, obviously I had to let that go because that is not from God. And it was very hard, I'm not gonna lie. Like, holding grudges was like my thing. And then I felt very bad for doing that. And I felt very bad because I'm like, wow, God has forgiven me a million times and I can't even forgive one time. And so that's what led me to forgive certain people. And I'm still learning, not gonna lie, y'all, I'm still learning how to forgive and truly let go. But I don't hold grudges like how I used to. So that is something, work in progress, but you know, God is working. So the fourth thing I had to give up was gossiping, y'all. I didn't even know I was doing this one, which is what happens to a lot of people. It kind of creeps up on you and you don't even know you're doing it. And so that's what happened to me. I was at work and I was at work and there was this one coworker that was just bothering me so much, and I just felt the need to vent. And I just went to a coworker. I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's so annoying. Like, she keeps bothering me. Like, can she just leave me alone, y'all? And in the moment of me talking, y'all, I felt convicted. I was like, yo, I never felt like that. I was like, I was like, wow, what am I doing? I felt bad, and I also felt guilty. And I felt guilty, and then after I regretted even saying those things about her to my other coworker, because I'm like, oh, that is so sad. And then I was also in fear, like, oh my god, now she's gonna go back and tell her. And I just felt horrible. And so that is something I was very quick to, you know, God really like put that to a stop, y'all, because I had a group of friends at work and like we would essentially gossip. Like, we would talk about anything, and I'm like, God, like, I literally told God, y'all, God, I do not want to gossip anymore. I do not want to do this anymore. I know it's a sin. Please help me surround myself with better people and shut me up, right? Y'all, the next day, I kid you not, all those girls, we stopped being friends the next day, y'all. So I was like, it hurt in the moment, and I felt so sad, and I was like, oh my god, like, but it was also a blessing because I was no longer sinning. So I'd rather that than me sin. So blessing in disguise. So the fifth thing I had to give up, y'all, this is a very crazy one that people are gonna be like, huh? I had to give up daydreaming, y'all. I would go to sleep. The only way I could go to sleep was like creating scenarios in my mind. If not, I couldn't go to sleep. So like, I would create a scenario like of just me having a good time, of things I would want, of like alternate realities, y'all. And I didn't even know this was a bad thing until I went on TikTok, and this lady was like, I had to stop. Like, she was like, stop daydreaming if you are a Christian. And I was like, but why? And she explained all the reasons. I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. You're basically trying to put your reality, your future, your everything into your hands. That is literally what I'm trying to do. Like, I love creating a story in my mind. And I prayed to God, y'all. I was like, God, please help me to stop daydreaming, because I know this is not what you want from me. You want me to be present. And so I prayed to God, and literally, y'all, he helped me with that. And then I fell back in, and I just started creating scenarios again because I couldn't fall to sleep. And now, thankfully, I don't daydream. Like, I don't daydream as much. Sometimes, like, for me to go to sleep, I just think of like random things and then I fall asleep. And it's just one of those things that you don't know is harmful until someone points it out, or until the Holy Spirit convicts you. And so that's kind of what happened to me with that one. The sixth thing I had to stop giving up, y'all. as being a Christian is I had to stop being lazy and I had to stop procrastinating. So by being lazy, y'all, I mean like when my mom would tell me do the dishes, I would be like, girl, I would not say make my bed. I would leave my room messy. I would not want to get up from bed. Like I would like to sleep in. I would not want to do the chores my mom gave me. I was just like, ugh, like I don't really want to. And then, you know, as I started reading the Bible more and started reading more about Proverbs 31 woman, I was like, oh snap, I'm the complete opposite. We have to do a complete 180 because this is not me. I'm not living in my truth by being lazy, and I'm also delaying myself from so many things by being lazy. I'm not being obedient to my mom because I'm being lazy. Like there were so many things and I was like, I don't want to be lazy. I was never really lazy. I just didn't have the motivation to do these things. So I asked God, like, please motivate me to be a better person. I also am such a big procrastinator. No, I would have homework and I would leave it to the last moment and then be surprised if I got a bad grade. So this is something I am truly still working on, and ask God to put in my heart to motivate me to do better, to be better, to get good grades, everything. So God is definitely working with me in that area. I'm definitely getting better. I kind of found out my trick is that I have to be in public or around people to do my work. Like if it's just me and my computer, I am 100% gonna procrastinate. I'm gonna go on my phone, I'm gonna read a book, I'm gonna watch TV, do a million other things. So I did find different ways that help me focus more. So that is something I had to give up, because when you're procrastinating, you're delaying, I feel like, your blessings. You're delaying the purpose God has you in or has you at. Like you're delaying, okay? And so that's literally what procrastination is. So I was like, no, I cannot do this anymore. I do not want to do that to myself. I do not want to be ungrateful to God for the opportunities he's giving me. So I'm not gonna procrastinate mainly my homework. And so it's been a work in progress, but I definitely can say I'm better now than I was, like, say a year or two ago. So the last thing I had to give up as a Christian is people, friends. I had to give up certain relationships, and it was truly for the better. I was surrounded by people that, I guess it was vice versa, it was toxic. I don't ever want to put like all the fault on another person because I'm not perfect, and especially during that time of my life, it was just very toxic. And so God thankfully removed those people, and it allowed me to reflect, because I was the kind of person that would be on FaceTime 24/7 with my friends. We would text 24/7, and especially because of COVID, like we were on FaceTime 3 days straight. Like we would eat, sleep on the phone, everything you could think of. We would always be on the phone. And so I essentially like built this unhealthy attachment, and this like I relied on them, and it was just not healthy. And it was also very toxic, because like obviously when you spend a lot of time with a person, and you guys are so young too, you guys are arguing and stuff like 24/7. So it was kind of like that. But I'm just so grateful that God kind of took those people out of my life. Those are 7 things I had to give up as a Christian.